never know if it could change your life. Take a chance, you're neither wrong or right. You never know if you don't roll them dice. You better roll them dice. You never know.
I woke up thinking about the third Batman movie, which I remember we saw together in a Russian movie theater.
Oh, I forgot that we saw that in a Russian movie theater.
I was thinking how weird and confusing it was that Bane didn't get muscly. I just remembered that was the point of his character, is he has juice that makes him muscle,
juice
man.
That makes him more muscly.
Muscle juice, yeah.
I forgot that we saw that in the theater.
I think most people call it protein shakes, but...
And it was fully in Russian, so we had no idea what was going on.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had a general idea what was going on. They were blowing up Pittsburgh, and that was it.
Yeah. It was funny, Gotham looked a lot more like Pittsburgh in that movie than it looked like New York. It was...
I had
filthy and dirty and depressing, just like your awful city.
It was really depressing. There's these big columns at the Mellon Institute where they have the final fight to decide the fate of Gotham. Let's just have all the cops and all the criminals have one big bar fight, which is a stupid way to do things.
Everyone lines up in the street and runs at each other, which is exactly how urban warfare works in the 21st century. So
everyone forgot their guns.
Yeah,
they were
neglected to shoot them. Yeah,
I mean, it's not like one side was criminals and might cheat and sneak a gun or two.
It was a great movie.
Yeah,
love Batman. Yeah. Welcome everyone. This is, in case you weren't aware, Dungeon Master of Done, where we do film criticism of movies from 10 years ago.
Yeah. Christopher Nolan, baby.
I had a couple of things I wanted to talk to you about.
It's because Joaquin Phoenix is going to be the new Joker. Is why
that's
maybe
not true.
I read that yesterday.
That's
before
not
I
true.
Went to bed.
I
think it is. It
no,
is true.
I don't believe you.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
You know what? I'm gonna Google that.
Jared Leto and his giant dick are really sad. He wishes he could continue to be the jokester.
Why?
Are you just now discovering it's true? Did you really not believe me?
No, I didn't believe you.
Oh. Well, Joaquin Phoenix, and you know what? See, this is what I've been saying.
I mean, I like Joaquin Phoenix just fine. Maybe fewer Jokers in general, I think.
I just think we need a method actor to try the Joker like Joaquin Phoenix. It hasn't been done before.
Definitely,
and I think
has never
someone
been done.
using method could really, do a lot with that character. There's a lot to be said there.
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not, but I refuse to engage in this conversation.
Sarcastic. Okay. Anyway, news item: Dungeon Master of None. I'm Matt.
Yeah, and I'm Rob. We're talking again about Batman. This is a Batman podcast, all Batman, all the time. Now, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. First, this is just sort of a general question, but Matt, have you read Michael Moorcock's steampunk trilogy, A Nomad of the Time Streams?
No, I have not.
You would love it.
A Nomad of the Time Streams.
So I only discovered this because I just ran across a really cool looking book at the library. But in the 70s, Moorcock wrote a trilogy of steampunk alternate world books where
the 70s, that's kind of early for steampunk.
Well, that's the cool thing about this. So hear me out. So it follows an Edwardian era British army captain, Oswald Bastable, who gets transported.
Oh god, that's such a steampunk name.
Gets transported to three separate alternate 20th centuries, where basically the one uniting thing is giant airships that do war with each other.
Well, I do cool. Like that.
We all love
that.
But also it explores these really interesting political questions. Like in the first one, the colonized peoples of the world are supported by anarchist and socialist saboteurs from the West to, attack their colonial overlords. And in the second one, instead of because Europe was devastated by fancy future weapons and biological warfare, the rest of the world is entirely different. And there's a Marxist Republic of Bantustan, where South Africa used to be, ruled by Mahatma Gandhi.
Oh, he never left South Africa?
He never left South Africa and formed a Marxist
republic. And became more Marxist?
In the third one,
exciting.
And this is the one I particularly liked, called the Steel Tsar. An entirely different, socialist Russian Empire forms, a much more stable one. And there's this fanatic theocrat socialist called Zugashtvili, who builds like a bunch of crazy steampunk inventions, and
that's something I like from alternate histories, because I feel like we were on the verge of like a religious socialist uprising.
Yeah,
in a couple
I thought you
turning points.
I thought you'd be interested because it represents socialists and anarchists in both sort of a realistic and also critical way, but they have substantial power and interests in all of these books. And there's like a bunch of like uniting events, like the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima happens like across all timelines, and but sometimes it's done with zeppelins, and there's like certain figures like Joseph Stalin, for example, or Stalin-like figures who continue to appear. Anyway, it's also written like sort of like postmodernist and ironically like a dead-on like late 19th century adventure romance, like Princess of Mars type style.
Edgar Rice Burroughs sort of
Edgar Rice
Tarzan
Burroughs,
kind of.
and I found it like actually not that great to read, but knowing that it was intentional was kind of interesting. Anyway, they're really short. You should check them out.
Give me that more cock. I'll try it. You stole one of my books, so if you own them, you'll have to bring one next time you're here.
Okay. I am going to bring that book back, but you were going to read it anyway.
I've already read it.
See? I didn't steal it. I'm just borrowing it. But yes, I'll bring you, next time I see you, I'll bring you a Moorcock book.
If you're having trouble getting into that book on the Comanche Empire, just read his short article, Empire of Grass, and then it makes the rest
I'm
of the
not.
book
It's
easier.
great.
Okay.
I'm loving every minute of it. I just keep getting distracted by other books. But no, it's a great...
Oh, sorry. Why are we talking about that? That has nothing to do with gaming.
Anyway, cut this out.
Other news.
Sorry, a number of the time streams is relevant. I wanted to mention it because we talk about world building a lot here, and I think it was some particularly interesting world building.
We're due for another world building episode ASAP.
So consider this a preview. Anyway, let's move on to actual
gaming news,
role playing news. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Vampire: The Masquerade. Matt, have you heard about any of this?
So I have heard tangentially about this, that they have released, we mentioned earlier, right, they're coming out with a 5th edition of their rule set. I saw the announcement they had released a free preview of said rule set, and then I think some controversy happened, which I'm not super familiar with.
Sure, so I do want to talk a little bit about this controversy, because it relates to something that we have talked about previously, and I think it's something that people need to address. So yeah, as you know, undoubtedly, White Wolf / The Onyx Path / World of Darkness / Vampire the Masquerade are releasing a new version of the most popular LARPing, goth-friendly Hot Topic. I'm sorry, it's not bad. It's fine. It's a good RPG.
It's moved beyond that.
It's
though
not
that was definitely when we were kids. That was what it was.
It's not my favorite, but it is a good RPG. Anyway, the point is they're releasing a 5th edition for the first time in like 10 years. It's been a while.
It's been a long time.
But recently they put out a preview document, which is available at the White Wolf website, which we'll link to. But so somebody pointed this out, and so I'm going to read a little bit of this preview document. So this is about Clan Brujah, which is worth pointing out is like not a good clan. They're bad guys.
And just for reference, clans are like bloodlines and fictive kinships of vampires that struggle for power.
Right, yeah.
And they have traditions and different styles and stuff like that.
Yeah, the world of vampire is ruled by families or clans of vampires who are struggling for power, and they each have distinct areas of society that they recruit from and goals and things. Anyway, so Clan Brujah is one of these. So this is what it has to say about them. Clan Brujah have always embraced, this is capitalized, embraced means making a vampire of, or something like that, from the ranks of those sympathetic to counterculture and revolution. They seek out allies who question normative ideas, and recognizing the fire of the oppressed, they gravitate toward the underdog.
Okay.
Keep listening.
Okay.
Common perception place punks, gang members, maladjusted immigrants rejected by society that should protect them, and placard-carrying and Molotov-wielding rioters among the Brujah. While the clan definitely includes substantial numbers of vocal and visible outsiders, their desire for rebellion reaches as deep as the fraudster ripping off his own company, the lawyer representing the poor pro bono, the neo-Nazi claiming to be alt-right, and the basement dweller downloading thousands of movies illegally for redistribution on streaming sites. Fledglings embraced to fight and protest are commonly known as rabble. Okay, so wait, you have thoughts, Matt?
I have some questions. Wait, all of those things are equivalents? First up, Nazis pretending to be the alt-right and lawyers doing pro bono work? What's going on here? Okay,
so
that just seems like a sloppy ideology. But I'm guessing the controversy goes deeper than this.
It is. So in a previous edition, here's a little bit more about the Brujah. Brujah tend to dress in whatever style is the most outrageous of the period, though some dress in a way that conflicts with the rest of the clan so as to be the most rebellious. Leather coats, spiked hair, chains, and black boots are common today, as are the various garbs of antiquity, especially those
leather boots and jackets have made a comeback. They're not rebellious anymore.
They may also dress and assume the attitudes of street hoods, neo-Nazis, or even deadheads.
Ooh. Yeah.
All right. So, a RPG person, I'm not familiar with this particular critic, a person named the Dice Dog. Dice Dog. Pointed out that this is what they said. The game's in-universe antagonists share many traits that Nazis and fascists associate with their real-world enemies, meaning that readers who share that ideology will easily see it as representing themselves. And for making this comment, the Dice Dog was rousted from the internet and has deleted all of their accounts and received death threats and acquired the ire of a certain subsect of Vampire the Masquerade. So Matt, you have correctly identified an issue with this description of the Brujah, which somehow conflates all resistance to the established order as being somehow equivalent.
Right, and putting neo-Nazis twice in some type of counterculture. As opposed to sheer reactionaryism.
Right. This is
and racism.
A particular problem with modern understanding of resistance to the established order. It's when you get to call both Trump and Bernie populists, as if there's anything that they share aside from trying to appeal to similar groups of people, or a generalized anxiety with modernity.
Both being born on Long Island.
I forgot. Yeah. Anyway, so
it's really a battle of Brooklyn versus Queens.
Neither Matt and I are from New York, so don't email us.
I don't know anything about New York.
Don't email us.
Okay, so this person pointed out, the Vampire the Masquerade has long flirted with neo-Nazi things, and they made it pretty explicit in the new rule book. This person called them out and then basically got shat on by alt-right fans. Is that what happened?
Basically, I also did want to, regardless of what happened to the Dice Dog, I wanted to talk about this bit because I do think it is a real tone deaf thing to just make to group social, trying to help people as a lawyer and being a neo-Nazi. I guess if they're a vampire clan that they don't have
they don't have the same morals as us, man.
Well, I'm willing to entertain that argument that they're just trying to recruit from people who are dissatisfied, but it just still feels, I don't know, feels icky to me. And I guess I wanted to, the larger issue I think is that we all know that there is a unfortunately larger and more vocal subset of RPG fans that identify with white supremacy and neo-Nazism, and appealing to them or making them feel welcome in any way is bad. I do want to point out that White Wolf has released at least 2 statements explicitly saying that the alt-right and neo-Nazis are not welcome in their community. So that's good. But I just sort of wanted to I don't know. let's talk about this, I guess, is sort of what I wanted to say.
And, like, maybe I'm just thinking of, like, Rob Zombie, like, werewolf women of the SS, but I feel like there's just sort of a tradition of, like, vampires and the occult and werewolves, and as sort of being associated with Nazism and maybe that particular brand of punk, like skinhead white supremacist culture. Is that true, or is it just that, like, you know, white supremacists are more than happy to try and infiltrate any subculture, whether it's weird RPGs or what have you, or online forums, and take it over?
I don't.
Is it something inherent to World of Darkness?
No,
or?
I don't think it's inherent to World of Darkness. So I've been thinking about this a lot because we now know that the alt-right has specifically targeted, for example, gamers, and that they explicitly infiltrated or were a part of or were the root of Gamergate because they identified a population that could be swayed or were receptive to their arguments, and that does sort of, I guess, suggest that marginalized or nerd or excluded groups of people are prime recruiting ground for the alt-right and for I don't know, proto-neo-fascists or whatever, which I think has a lot to do with, if this were a different type of podcast, we'd talk about alienation and about, you know, dissatisfaction with modernity, but I don't think that White Wolf has done anything explicitly wrong here. I just think that it's sort of like tone deaf in the way that they talked about this particular group of vampires, because if you left out the neo-Nazi part, it sounds kind of appealing. They sound like, I don't know, punks, rebellious, you know,
right?
Potentially people who are anarchists in a fun way. You could definitely see, again, leaving out the neo-Nazi part, like Neo belonging to the Brujah-ha.
Yeah, you could imagine an anonymous hacker becoming a vampire under this clan.
Yeah, so I guess I just wanted to bring it up because we talked about this before with Dragon and what was that stupid? I can't remember the name of his setting.
Lion and Dragon?
Lion and Dragon, Lion and Rose. Anyway, it's just unfortunate that I guess because yeah,
we know that various white supremacist and alt-right factions actively supported Gamergate because they knew that they had a bunch of misogynists that they could easily then recruit to, you know, from, you know, outright misogyny to outright racism and a broader ideology, and use it as a flashpoint. I just read Angela Nagel's book last week, Kill All Normies. Highly recommend that if you were looking for a book that sort of emphasizes the importance of Gamergate in creating the sort of 4chan alt-right troll, and looking at how that metastasized and grew. And we see that there are people like this Lion and Rose guy who really want there to be a similar movement in tabletop role-playing games, for there to be some other type of fake controversy, so that, you know, people can be recruited to a more reactionary style of thought. It's crazy that people want to use role-playing games in this way, but that's what's happening.
Wasn't there? I totally forgot about this because it was such a flash in the pan. But didn't we have Dungeon Gate or something like that? Very briefly. Someone
like,
tried to start Dungeon Gate. Yeah,
trying to start hashtag D&D Gate, and everyone just was like, "This is not a thing."
Nobody cares. Yeah.
So there's a faction of alt-right role-playing game dungeon masters, players, and designers, and I don't think many of them ever actually play that much, but they're very active online. They very much see themselves locked in a war with, like, leftist culture authoritarians, and, you know, if they want to frame it that way, then they've definitely lost to people who've joined D&D not from 4chan but from Tumblr and more welcoming online spaces, right? Those people have won the online D&D war.
I think it's pretty clear, unless you're in a very specific community, that Gamergate lost the culture wars, but even more so than that.
Right, Gamergate lost the culture war while winning a political battle by getting its message into actual avenues of power.
Again, we're getting off in the weeds. I think they actually probably would have preferred to win the culture war, because what they hate the most is that nobody likes their ideas, that nobody wants to make the games that they want to be able to play without having to think about any of the things that they're constantly railing about. But the thing with D&D Gate or Dungeon Gate or whatever it was that big names like Matt Mercer and Scott Lynch caught onto it early and just started making a joke of it. They're just describing dungeon gates and using the hashtag, which immediately
physical, literal dungeon gates,
right?
Of
completely drowned
hinges
out, completely drowned out the whining conversation. But I guess the whole reason that I wanted to bring this up is that we just need to be aware that this culture exists in our community, and we were not aware and not ready for it with Gamergate, and that had significant and tragic consequences. And we didn't take it seriously enough, and so we need to be very clear that these people aren't welcome. By the way, if you're a neo-Nazi or alt-right and you listen to our podcast, fuck off.
Okay, well, there's some sad, depressing news in general.
It's mostly okay.
It's mostly positive.
White Wolf, I think, did a good job of responding. It's just sort of unfortunate that we have to talk about this. I'm sorry this got kind of off in the weeds, but.
Oh no, it's a good conversation to have, and it's nice to. I mean, the heartening thing is that D&D Gate failed, and that at least in online spaces, right? There's another conversation to be had at tabletop conventions and tabletop living rooms where you or others play their role-playing games, like making those places more welcoming. But there was a victory against people who wanted to make the internet a non-inclusive D&D space.
All right, let's go on to Unwanted Advice.
All right, take a quick break. We'll be back with Unwanted Advice.
So I thank the Soviets and the mighty Chinese vets, the Allies, the whole wide world around. To the battling British, thanks, you can have 10 million Yanks if it takes them to tear the fascists down, down, down. If it takes them to tear the fascists down.
Hey, Unwanted Advice. It's the part of our show where we take the questions you didn't ask and have some answers. First question, Rob. Are you ready? How are you feeling?
I just took a big drink of coffee, and I'm so ready.
How's your stance? Feet shoulder width apart.
Yes.
Knees slightly bent. Okay. Question 1. Title: would you allow this? This is a hypothetical.
No, I would not. Next question.
This is a hypothetical situation. Situation: a player wants to play an ASMR, but thinks flying is kind of cheesy / OP, so describes the character as having burn scarred stumps instead of wings, with an appropriate backstory explaining how this happened. The player asks the DM for nothing in exchange for giving up this ability. Many levels later, the player finds him or herself in a desperate situation where a short burst of flight might save the party. He or she narrates that in a burst of divine energy, newly formed wings burst forth from the stump, and the character proceeds to fly as per rules as written in the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide, where the rules for flying ASMR are given. So, would you allow it? Why or why not?
I absolutely would allow that. That sounds like good, interesting role-playing. I think it's a little dramatic and possibly annoying to deal with. Like all the angst around having your wing stumps burned off. My gut is that type of character would be a RP hog at the table and potentially monopolize the spotlight. But
there you have it, folks. Rob thinks role playing is bad.
I do.
You said that.
I'm anti role playing. No, I don't see any problem with this. I guess it would be an issue if you had run your character one way and then suddenly changed the rules. But if you're just reacquiring an ability that you should have already had, I can't imagine as a DM why would I have a problem with this unless I were some sort of stickler or, I don't know, big freaking jerk, because it sounds like a good excuse to change the rules, and it's like good role playing and dramatic, and I love that stuff. So yeah, I'm all for it.
Well, this brings up I brought this letter up because I think this person is hitting around the target of actually a good idea for sort of a problem rules situation in 5th edition D&D. And that is flying characters at low levels. A lot of dungeon masters don't have a problem with this. Some do, because flying can negate a lot of fun challenges at low levels. I don't know what your personal opinion on first level flying characters is, Rob.
I don't like them, but I don't feel strongly enough to ban them, and I don't think that they break the game enough to change the rules for, or to, you know, make special rulings against. I you know, there's enough things with ranged attacks, and your AC is low enough, and as long as, I mean, unless you've aggressively min-maxed in a weird way, you're still not gonna completely destroy the game, even if you know, can't get hit or eaten by something on the ground.
And they don't break the game mechanically. Some dungeon masters have a problem with it because they feel like it makes them write the game differently, as they have to take into account a flying character, which is probably a bad way to do things. You know, you shouldn't write a game in such a way as to negate one of the advantages of one of your players. Anyway, but I think it hits on an interesting and fun workaround that you could easily work out with one of your players beforehand. Say you have a player who wants to play a flying tiefling or ASMR character, but you don't want to give them that ability until, you know, 5th level, when similar abilities come online, the fly spell or airwalk from a cleric. So you say to them, you give them a card and says, all right, you can grow your wings out when there is a you know, character or role-playing opportunity that you feel is thematic. You can't do it until 3rd or 4th level. The one time you do it, so you want to save it for a special occasion. You also, you know, a blast of divine energy heals everyone around you or something like that. You know, you make it a fun opportunity for your characters. They can still play the race they want. They don't get flying until later. Everyone wins. Bing, bang, boom.
I mean, that's how it used to work in Pathfinder, which I thought was a perfect. I honestly don't know why they didn't do it in 5th edition. There wouldn't be anything wrong with Aasimar or Aroka, whatever the other flying, or who's the other flying race? Anyway,
Aroka, yeah,
Aroka.
I forget how you say it. Yeah. Like, yeah, at first level, you basically, their wings give them a slow fall or maybe a slight glide ability, and then up at 3rd or 5th level, they can actually fly.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that. And if you do, again, I don't think it's worth changing, but if you think that one of your early challenges or dungeons or encounters is going to be completely invalidated or made less interesting because of a flying character, discuss with them, say, hey, you'll get your wings at 3rd or 5th level, and see if they're okay with that. I don't see a problem with that at all.
All right, hypothetical problem solved. Thank you, person, for giving me the idea to do things in a better way than you described. All right, you're right.
Matt does. So actually, I one more thing. I generally don't. Well, we have encouraged DMs to make their own rules where possible, and feel free to make adjustments, though I think 5th edition is pretty good. But this is one area where I definitely think where do exactly what we said. If you have a problem with flying characters, or if flying characters are making your game difficult, this is a perfectly reasonable workaround that I think your players can and should be okay with. So there are definitely some places where the rules are weak, and this is one. I think flying is weird in all D&D games just because of how it works. So
yeah, and I mean, the bigger thing, and it depends, I guess it definitely depends on your style of game, right? If you're running a hack and slash dungeon crawl, maybe it will never come up, but like in one of my games, being a giant bird person would be quite significant in how you interact with the world, as opposed to just your mechanical flying ability. People will be like, holy shit, you're a giant bird. You're basically a dinosaur, right? People would be freaked out by that because most of the people are humans and dwarves and things like that. Okay, on to the next question.
Next question.
Here's a really short one, but a really deep one. You ready?
I'm ready.
Here's the question. Title: what level is best for starting a game? The letter writer writes, low levels are boring while high levels are overpowered. Think Wish. What is the best level to start?
I have an opinion on this.
Oh, I have a strong opinion on this.
I kind of want to hear your opinion first, Matt, to be honest.
Okay, all right. The best level to start the game is actually baked into the rules. It's level 1.
I actually agree with you. I thought
start at the very beginning.
See, here's my place to start. Slightly more advanced answer.
All right.
Than Matt is start at level 1 and don't stay there for very long. That's my answer. Is have exactly 1 session at level 1 is my official answer. But the Matt is correct. The right answer is right place to start is level 1.
So there are many situations you're running a one shot. Your players just played through a low level campaign. Like, they just played through a game 1 through 7. That campaign fell apart or finished and you want to do a new one. So you start at a higher level. There are many reasons that are completely valid to not start at level 1. However, for 95% of your games, especially with new or new-ish players, you start at level 1. You get to take a character from the beginning of their journey to the end. You learn your mechanics as you go. There's a reason for it.
The question writer mentioned Wish as an example of high levels being fun. I think Wish sucks. I think high levels suck. I think it's really hard to play and balance a game at high levels. I don't particularly like playing or running games any higher really than level 10. I think it really gets kind of just goes off the rails.
I mean, I do enjoy playing high-level things. I have to disagree that Wish is overpowered. There's I
didn't say overpowered.
The letter writer said overpowered.
Oh, okay.
There's a strong material component, and also, if you are going to play till level 17, your characters deserve to be world-changing, superheroes who can alter reality with a snap of their fingers.
Yeah, I agree. So start level 1.
And also, low levels are not boring, is what the letter writer says. Low levels can be extremely exciting as more mundane challenges become intricate and difficult problems to be overcome.
Yeah. The secondary answer, if you don't want to start at level 1, is level 3, by the way. You should always start at level 1, but a good breakpoint for low level, but still not too high levels, level 3. I would not start anywhere else besides those 2 levels if you're starting from scratch.
So I haven't done this since 3rd edition, but I also have a lot of fun with starting characters at level 0, where they only get a limited number of skills and proficiencies and hit points and their racial abilities. And that usually doesn't last for, like Rob said, more than 1 session, and then they pick up their character class. It's definitely for a more old school type of game, but that can also be fun. We'll do a different episode on it.
I've done that, and that's fun. It's just weird in 5th edition because they don't have NPC classes anymore. So
well, here's how I do it. I would just give them their background and racial abilities, and then some generic number of hit points.
We talked about this. Yeah, actually, that would be fun. Actually,
yeah.
Okay.
All right, next question. Here's a really do you want to do a really insane one or a really good one for you?
Dealer's choice.
All right. Here, let's start with the really insane one. This one is one of the more popular things that was not sent to us, so listeners may be familiar with this. This was extremely popular post online. I just found out the story of my quote-unquote homebrew campaign I'm playing is shoplifted wholesale from Critical Role.
I saw this post and didn't click on it because I didn't want to read it. But go ahead and read it.
It's so sad. All right. Okay, here we go. All right. This isn't a scumbag DM post or anything. I would just like to hear the community's thoughts and how you guys would feel. Now, I'm not talking about just being inspired by Critical Role. This is point-by-point wholesale plagiarism. There's nothing wrong with not writing your own adventure, although I do think it is somewhat slimy to represent it as a product of his own, I'm referring to the DM, imagination when it clearly wasn't. Knowing this explains the times where I felt railroaded as a player. Now I know the reason that it seemed like our options in any given situation were really narrow is because the Dungeon Master was only prepared for us to do exactly what the cast of Critical Role did. I remember telling the Dungeon Master that he was making us read his mind instead of being open to other situations, which the Dungeon Master denied, but now I feel that it's confirmed. Am I morally obligated to stop watching Critical Role now that I know it's a spoiler? Am I morally obligated to tell my Dungeon Master that I'm onto him so he has a chance to change course and actually surprise us? Or should I stop thinking of it as a big deal and just do nothing?
All right. I've before I answer this, I have two questions. One, do we think this actually happened? And two, what did Reddit have to say about this?
Oh, I never read the comments on these.
Okay.
So I have no idea what Reddit had to say.
Okay.
Guessing the Reddit hive mind is probably they were like immediately dump your Dungeon Master and never talk to him again.
Yeah. Dump your Dungeon Master, delete Facebook, hit the gym.
Yeah. But this is interesting because I just want to say before we answer this question, Rob and I are big advocates of, and we've encouraged our listeners to quote unquote steal, right? And that means draw inspiration from many different sources, whether they be novels, movies, published adventures, or even shows like Critical Role.
Right.
But this is not what we mean by stealing.
So I want to go on the record as saying that I'm like 50-50 on whether or not this actually happened.
Yeah, this could be made up.
But assuming that it's real, and unfortunately I can't imagine somebody doing this. Gosh, wow. I can't imagine a game I would rather like not play in than the one that this player has described. I'm not sure how I would approach it. I would definitely go to the DM and say, hey, I know what you're doing. And then if it were me, I would say I have no interest in playing this campaign. Because what it sounds like is that the DM wants to literally recreate the events and circumstances of the Critical Role campaign, which is impossible to do.
Right,
because...
and the players, if they exist, are feeling constrained because there's no way they're going to pick the exact same option.
Right. It's just absolutely maddening. Because you...
It reminds me of that webcomic from so many years ago that was like, what if Lord of the Rings was a role-playing game? And the Dungeon Master is frustrated when the players don't pick the option, they think they should pick, right?
What was that? DM of the Rings? That was a
DM of the Rings.
That was a great webcomic, by the way. But yeah, it
ends with those just playing BattleTech instead, which is a situation we can all get behind.
It was very funny because, the DM would get repeatedly frustrated when they would make what, seemed like very obvious decisions, but absolutely not the decisions that the characters in the Lord of the Rings made. This just sounds like absolute madness. Like, even if you didn't know what was going on, like, incredibly frustrating to play and be a part of. I would quit. I would publicly shame the DM. I would email links to Critical Role to all of the players. I don't know. If this really happened, it's a huge betrayal of trust and also just, like, tremendously bad DMing.
Now, here's I think if you're a Dungeon Master and you want to take things from other things, we've talked about making a player's guide or a campaign Bible to give to your players. In one of my recent campaigns, I, said, here are the role-playing source books from which I'm drawing inspiration, monsters, perhaps locations. Don't read these and let me know if you've looked at any of them in the past. I listed 10 different things, right? And I think one of the things you could do if you're someone who's drawing inspiration from Critical Role is, let your players know, hey, I'm lifting. I haven't watched the first season of Critical Role, but I'm lifting inspiration from these things. Has any of you guys watched this before? Right? And that's a completely valid thing to do as a dungeon master, right? Is say I'm taking inspiration from this obscure work of fiction or this other published module, but you got to let your players know that you're using that resource. Otherwise, they're going to be, just like this player, surprised and betrayed. And no one should ever, you could absolutely play a published module by the book, right? But you can't play a published show by the book because it takes away the actual fun of the role-playing game, which is players making their own choices.
I mean, if you wanted to use the general set pieces and locations and framework of the Critical Role campaign to run your own game, that's, again, I would not do this.
Right, you're taking the most popular campaign in the last decade, which your players may have seen.
I would not do this, but that's fine, because that's basically just running an adventure path. Again, I wouldn't do that.
It's a lot more work than running an adventure path.
Right, you'd have to reverse engineer it, but
you'd have to watch 200 hours of something instead of reading a 50-page book.
But that's entirely different than. And if you did that, you would have to let your players make their own decisions and be willing to adapt. And
so, assuming you've made this insane decision, which is fine,
you could do that. But that would be different than just running it and waiting for your players to make the same decisions that the Critical Role cast did.
Try it again.
Yeah, nope, that didn't work. Try it again. Yeah, so don't. Anyway, I would strongly recommend not doing that. But if you did, that would be something else entirely than what the question writer has described, which is nightmarish and weird. And if you find yourself in some sort of situation like this, get out as fast as possible.
Yeah. All right. If that happened, that is a fucking insane thing that happened. And hopefully that Dungeon Master was not a DM of None listener.
Tell me lies, tell me sweet little lies.
All right, Ray, for another question, Rob.
I'm so ready. Hit me.
Question, and we talked about this. This fits right up with our last episode. Question: Curse of Strahd. ... The sequel. Howdy, partners. Oh boy, I'm in a dilly of a pickle. Last year, I wrapped up running
Throw the whole question out.
Curse of Strahd was fantastic. The players loved their characters and the whole setting. One player even took up residence with their rescued brother. One now owns the winery. One even turned bad and now leads the barbarians who worshipped the vampire Strahd. The problem, I promised to write a sequel. I know it can't just be, well, the vampire is back. So what should I do? The Barovia, like when the cycle begins anew, the spirit of Tatiana got sucked up by Sergei in the pool. What part would Baba Yaga play in a Strahdless Barovia? Should I explore the desires of the dark power? I know there are lots of ways to go. What should I do to continue Curse of Strahd?
Well, we talked about this a little bit at the end of our Curse of Strahd episode.
We did. I just, I feel like we could come up with a pretty solid, definitive one answer now.
Yeah, okay,
so we sat with it.
I have a couple of thoughts. So, slight spoilers again if you're in Curse of Strahd, but the book explicitly says that one outcome is that Strahd comes back. That he is too, inextricably tied to the land to ever be fully eliminated. And given enough time, the fog will return, and Strahd, in one form or another, will take up residence back in Castle Ravenloft. So you can always do that. And even though that may be unsatisfying, maybe Strahd comes back bigger and badder, and you find a way to end the cycle once and for all. But as the letter writer mentioned, I mean, for me, the answer is very obviously the dark powers are now freed from their link from Strahd, and so they either on their own start seeking to control Barovia, or a new champion takes up the power of the Amber Temple, somebody bigger and badder and more evil than Strahd. It also could be something a little bit outside the box, like one thing I thought of is a group of crusaders comes to the borders of Barovia to cleanse it once and for all, and your players are now in residence and seen as inheritors of the vampire's power, and they have to defend themselves from a group of overzealous paladins.
That's exactly where I would go, is I would widen the scope of Barovia, right? There's got to be another valley or vale or country next to it now that the fog is lifted and travel can come. And whoever is now bordering Barovia sees Barovia as a threat, and the players will have to fight and convince the rest of the world that Barovia is no longer, evil and must be destroyed and the earth salted. There you go.
Yeah,
it's got to be that or the dark powers in uber demon form monsters.
I actually definitely like the second one better. Make it a little bit of a kingmaker intrigue, wartime thing. I would absolutely have like a crusader.
This is perfect if your players are invested in Barovia, as this writer says they are.
Yeah. Have them have to defend it from, again, I would absolutely do Crusaders, a group of, dumb, mean, lawful, stupid paladins who want nothing to do with it and just want to cleanse the land and salt the earth, and they have to defend themselves against people who are technically lawful good. That's always a good time, I think.
All right. Excellently well done, Rob. I like that answer. I would pay for that module of Crusaders versus Barovia. We got 2 more short ones. Are you ready for our last unwanted advice?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. I try to get a nice spread of questions. Here's a mechanical one for you.
Okay.
Is there a reason a quote-unquote shield at will warlock invocation shouldn't work? It's a letter probably from a player. We've got Mage Armor, Speak with Animals, and Detect Magic available to 5th edition Warlocks at will all day long. If we're cool with Mage Armor, AC raise for free, then I feel like a Hexblade Warlock could have access to Shield at will. It's already got a built-in bonus action cost. Not sure what they mean by that.
That's a reaction.
Yeah. So, is there any reason a Shield at will Warlock invocation shouldn't work?
I would not allow it because they're correct about Mage Armor, but the power level is different. The invocation replicates... The difference is like a Mage Armor invocation is basically replacing 1 first level spell a day. Whereas if
because you can only cast Mage Armor once per day. It lasts for like 8 hours,
right,
and then you're done.
On the other hand, Shield is once per round, and it is a first level spell. And it is balanced because you will run out of it very quickly. This actually happens to me all the time, and I'm playing in a Princes of the Apocalypse campaign right now with a Githyanki muscle wizard, and he runs out of shield all the time because he only has so many first level spells. It is true that it is balanced.
If you could cast shield every round, you would be a god.
Yeah. It is true that it is balanced by having a reaction cost, and I guess that prevents you from using, Hellish Rebuke or some other
reaction thing.
But shield is substantially more powerful than almost any other reaction action. It's a +5 AC. It's basically giving you a permanent +5 AC as long as you have a reaction. I would not allow it. I see where the player's argument is coming from. I don't agree with it.
Yeah, so they're completely wrong, right? There are some first level spells that having them at will does not create any sort of problem at all. There are others that it would create an insane problem that would basically break a certain aspect of your game. And this is, I think, an important lesson for dungeon masters who, if you're like me, your players are constantly asking them for homebrew or rules or exceptions, and that's great, right? Players should feel free to come up with things that they want that are not in the rules. However, it's a great thing for you to be aware as a dungeon master that just because spells or abilities are at the same level doesn't mean that they're equivalent. In fact, it's usually the case that they're not, right? You have to look at what they actually do in game.
Right. Okay, I think that was
All
pretty
right.
easy. Yeah, pretty cut and dry.
Excellent. All right, very last one, and I like this one because this is a question that comes up all the time. All right, question. Should a natural one always have consequences?
No.
So, yes, that's the answer. So, me and a friend of mine just jumped in, and we're playing through Curse of Strahd. We're level 5 now, and I'm new to this table, but they're house rules, and one of the things that shocked me is how frequently natural ones carry horrific consequences. Last session, for example, I rolled a natural 1 on a dexterity saving throw against a fireball, and the dungeon master said that meant I had to pull a card from his deck of fumble cards. These are like, things where there's consequences written on cards for when things bad say. And it said I had damaged my throat and couldn't speak for, he paused to roll, for 9 days. I thought I'd open up and see what others thought about rates of bad things happening on a natural 1. When I DM'd and a player rolls a natural 1, I like to mix things up, and sometimes if the situation calls for it. But to some, do you always punish your players for rolling natural 1s in combat?
So I strongly feel the answer to this is no, and I have a mechanical reason for it, and I have a lore and verisimilitude answer for it.
Right.
So
let's hit the mechanics first.
So mechanically, this punishes martial players. A wizard can force others to roll, or a sorcerer or a warlock or whatever, right? They don't, even if they're a combat wizard, they can use spells that don't require them to ever roll. So they'll only ever be rolling if they need to make concentration saves or saving throws or whatever, and if they're playing intelligently, they may never need to roll. They only cast...
Whereas a rogue or a fighter is rolling several attack checks per turn.
Right. So this deeply punishes martial characters who must roll to affect combat, right?
You rolled a 1, you drop your greatsword again.
So this brings me to my verisimilitude argument. At first level, maybe, but by second and definitely third level, you are a trained and experienced combatant. And even if things go astonishingly badly for you, you should not be dropping your sword or stumbling or like spraining your ankle or, flopping like an idiot and bruising your throat more than once ever. Even if you fail catastrophically, even if you get severely outmatched by an opponent, if you're a trained and athletic, hero fighter type, you're not going to be like slipping and falling on your ass like a Three Stooges. It just doesn't. Even if you fail, you should not be failing in such a way that causes you like mechanical problems in the future.
Right.
Outside
if you fail your saving throw, right, it burns your eye out or something like that. I realize there are people who want a more deadly game, but rolling a natural 1, right, it's 1 out of 20 times. That's 5% of the rolls. It's going to happen a lot.
I don't like these fumble decks because they just they turn experienced and competent combatants into people who have a 5% chance of doing something astonishingly stupid.
Right. Rolling a natural 1 already has a built-in punishment, which is that you automatically fail. It's not fun to make a player then spend their next turn going and picking up their sword or pulling up their pants because their pants fell down. I find all those things
if you want to add lethality and something like injuries to your game, add it when players go down. When players go down,
there's where it comes.
Have them roll on an injury chart or something like that, which is can still be frustrating, but feels a lot more realistic than you rolled a 1 and now you can't talk for 9 days.
Rob's solution is absolutely correct, right? If you have a fighter with 100 hit points and you roll a natural 1 on your reflex save for a fireball, take 20 damage, still have 80 hit points left, and now can't talk for 9 days. It's much better to roll or pull that card when you go down to 0 hit points, right? And have a chance of dying.
And I actually
something. I actually love that way to do it.
Yeah, I like that
That's
rule a
great
lot,
idea.
especially in 5th edition, because there aren't a lot of consequences and it's a lot harder to die. And there are some good optional rules. I don't think any official ones, but by other people on consequences for being reduced to 0 hit points. But yeah, I think I've explained pretty clearly why I don't like the fumble mechanics. I have never liked them. Some of my players have asked for them, and I have explained to them why I don't like them. And yeah,
players think they want them, but they probably actually don't.
They probably actually don't. I agree.
Players don't know what's good for them.
It's true. They don't.
They're children. They're children. No.
They need the benevolent guiding hand of the DM to help them have a fun game.
Exactly. And that's why our new Dungeon Master book is called Leviathan.
Yeah,
Thomas Hobbes.
All right.
Okay, that's a lot of questions, Rob. We did good. We helped so many people.
Provided so much useful advice. So you're welcome, world.
Keep sending in your letters. We're gonna do a mailbag of holding episode very soon. Thank you for those of you who have sent in your questions.
Yes, we're a little bit behind. We both got a little bit busy this summer, but we are gonna catch up. So please send us questions at dmofnone@gmail.com or at us on Twitter, dmofnone, and we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you all for engaging with us and listening. And keep rolling them dice. We'll see you all
right,
next time.
I've got to go nomad around a time stream, I believe, with the rest of my day.
All right.
Or maybe watch the Batman movie again.
In Russian.
In Russian. All right. Or Rob play some Overwatch.
Play some Overwatch.
All right, ta-ta.
If you please. Everybody, get on the floor, do your thing. Everybody, get on the floor, do your thing. Whatever it is, get on the floor, do your thing. Whatever it is, get on the floor, do your thing. Whatever it is, I'ma do mine, y'all. So do